Originally, I was in computer science, and it was funny because my father had worked for the Game Commission, and I met a gentleman that was reintroducing river otters into the state and got into biology. Started working with the USDA many years ago, and we had done passive treatment of acid mine drainage in the state of Pennsylvania in terms of we use wetlands as part of that system, and became very passionate with wetlands and designing these type systems and been doing it ever since. We're standing here overlooking the wetlands at Central Mountain High School, and these are wetlands we restored back in 2009. They had put a main drainage ditch into this field in order to drain the area so they could use this area to grow corn and other commodity crops. When Central Mountain purchased this facility, they no longer used it for agriculture. They originally wanted to use this in order to put a soccer field or other type of athletic field on it. With the wetland regulations, they were unable to do that. So they weren't sure what to do and started looking around to some other opportunities. And the superintendent who was here at the time had some connections with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and some other groups, and the opportunity come up to restore a wetland. So myself with my company and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, we started looking at what we could do to restore this area back to a wetland and actually provide an educational opportunity that would be great for the school itself so they could use this facility to teach folks about wetlands, the community, the school itself, and also to actually provide some habitat for a lot of species of wildlife. As the weather gets colder north of us, a lot of waterfowl moves through this area on their way to their wintering grounds. So this is a great opportunity to provide some energy for these waterfowl as they make their trip south.
Crucial to the recreation of a wetland is an understanding of the principal element left behind when the water was removed: the soil.
What type of soils are here? Was it historically a wetland? Will it hold water long enough during the growing season to facilitate a wetland? What types of seeds are already here in terms of, do we need to replant this area, or will it come back on its own? Is there enough water in the watershed to keep this wet during the growing season? Is there too much water in the watershed? We have to design principal spillways and other things so this can function properly. However, we don't want it in a storm type condition to overflow and be detrimental to something downstream. The administration was very adamant that we try to save this tree. So one of our challenges was not to get the water too close to the root system to maintain it. It was probably 70 to 80 years old. It takes a long time to grow a tree like this. As agriculture come through and put this main drainage ditch in, it removed most of this water. So what we did when we designed this system was to block that off and put this water back. So there's a lot of planning involved. Once we get the permits in place, funding is very difficult. And there's a lot of organizations out there that have funds. There's different foundations. The Foundation for Pennsylvania Watershed is one of those organizations that does a great job of spurring these types of projects. They provide that seed money that we utilize to find bigger grants like Growing Greener and other state and federal grants. It took us about a month and a half to construct it, but it takes about 3 years from the time that you decide that you'd like to do a restoration until you see what you have here today.
It also takes time to overcome some of the preconceived notions we have about proper land use.
It's only been like a decade or two where we've recognized that wetlands are so important to our society. Years ago, areas like this were considered swamplands. These are the areas that were not important, that were wastelands. But in the last 10, 15, 20 years, we've really recognized as a society as the benefit that these type of systems have for us. When we have large storms, these areas hold water and facilitate less flooding downstream. And also in the summertime when it gets real dry, these areas serve as sponges and allow a lot of recharge of our streams that typically get a lot drier now in the summer as a result of construction and development. And it's in an excellent spot for the school and other facilities to utilize this. And this is in the watershed of the Chesapeake Bay. The water quality benefits that projects like this provide are incredible in terms of the amount of nitrogen and phosphorus that's removed from the water on their way to the Chesapeake Bay and the amount of sediment that these types of systems retain. It does a great job of educating everyone and providing benefits to the society that it's right here in the middle of.